good? You on? All right. Because you didn't move yet, that made me think it's not on. Tonight we're dealing with standing out from the world. Now, the church has really come to a place where a lot of things that are in the world have become incorporated into the church, into the church's way of life. It's been going on for a long time. That's what happened with Christmas. The date of Christmas, was a pagan holiday that they just incorporated and just took it over with Jesus. Christmas has nothing to do with the sun god, just for the record. It has everything to do with Jesus, but they just incorporated that date to just use for the birth of Jesus because they didn't know the actual date. But there was so many things that began to creep in, and especially with our lives, even some of the things that are not church tradition, but just in our personal lives, we begin to adapt to the world. So I just want to start off with a few questions. Can we get interactive? Because I don't know want to talk to me. What is it that Lucifer did in heaven?
What did he do to get kicked out?
Yeah.
He wanted to be greater than God.
What else did he do concerning some of the angels?
He drew them.
You know how many?
A third.
A third of the angels. So Satan, just real smart over there. Satan persuaded a third of the angels. And this just blows my mind to think about this. We're talking about heavenly beings who for their whole existence, all they knew was God. And they able to see God in all his glory. And somehow Satan was like, I got something better than this.
But I feel like that's how they got fooled. Because they had never, it's like, we're born into the earth. Mm-hmm. Earth sucks. So we're like, heaven's going to be amazing. But like, they're like, all right, this is heaven. We've been here the whole time. I'm used to this. What's next? They got fooled.
They got fooled. So because of what they did, God kicked them out. God removed Satan from that because he understands if Satan stays here, he is going to continually begin to persuade more and more people. So in order to keep that from happening, God, removed him so he wouldn't corrupt any more of the angels. And so with us, we have to begin to remove ourselves from the world, from worldly thinking, from worldly people, because as long as they are around, they will begin to persuade us. They will begin to draw us in and lure us into all these different worldly things, and we'll begin to incorporate those things in our way of life. Now, Deuteronomy is written when the Israelites were on the cusp of going into the promised land, right? When they were on the outside, and it's giving them instructions on how to attain and live in the promised land. So for us, if we're trying to get a promise, one of the things we should do, we should read Deuteronomy, because Deuteronomy is giving us the instructions and giving us God's breakdown on how to get and keep the promise. Now, sometimes we might get into the promised land and lose it, like the Israelites. Or sometimes we might get the instructions on how to attain it, but we don't want to follow those instructions, and we'll never, ever get the promise. We'll be like the first generation of the Israelites who died in the wilderness as opposed to going into the promised land. So now God, here we're going to be in Deuteronomy chapter 7, by the way. In Deuteronomy chapter 7, God has given them some instructions on how to live once they possess the land. And when they got to the land, they were not supposed to blend in. They were not supposed to go into the land and intermingle and just be a part of everything that was going on. Jesus tells us that we are the light of the world, meaning we need to stand out. We got to stand out from the world. We got to stand where the world is looking at us and not us looking at them. We need to be that light in every dark place. We need to be in the world, but not of the world. But when we're in the world, people need to be looking at us and seeing us and trying to figure out what's different about us. what is it about us that's giving us a peace? What is it about us that's giving us a joy? Why are we different? Why are we dealing with the same type of issues, but we ain't lose our mind? What is it that keeps us having a hope in the midst of everything else? And this is what we need. We can't just allow the world to come into us, and now nobody can tell the difference between us and the world. Now, I'm not saying that the church should not evolve, because I'm far from a traditionalist, but I do appreciate some traditions. But yes, the church should evolve, and we should grow within ourselves, but we should not imitate. It's a big difference between us just evolving as people and us peeking over at the world to try to figure out how we should look, what we should do. It's like we got to get our model from the world before we do anything. And we're no longer standing out, we're blending in. And this is what God was completely against with the Israelites when they was going into this land. And that's something that he was teaching the whole time, with the Jews, was y'all don't marry nobody else but Jews. And that's why the woman at the well, the Samaritan, it's like she talked to Jesus, like, y'all don't even talk to us. That's how deep they got with it. Like, we don't even talk to no mixed breeds. It's just us. And it's not that God was being mean or wanted them to just not talk to anybody else. It was that he was just trying to show them and show us through them how if you are intermingled with people that are of the same beliefs, it will begin to mess with yours. Anybody got any comments or questions? I'm going to ask it a few times next. I want this to be interactive. I'm tired of just being up here just talking. Come on, Tika.
So, about Isaac Curry's song, it sounds like
Oh my goodness.
And that's kind of like what exactly you just said. But a lot of Carpenter songs too. Just like they look at all the old songs, listen to all the old R&B songs, and just apply gospel lyrics on top of it, and just push it up.
Yeah, that's a good song. I like it though, but it's so R. Kelly,
Can't take it.
I was talking to a friend of mine, Mr. Mike Felton from Shannon. And he was talking to me about this topic, and he began to talk about years ago with Ray Charles and Sam Cooke, and a lot of these guys who were. You had a question? No. A lot of those old guys that were got really big. They were taking the gospel feel and bringing it to a secular world.
Right.
And then with Ray Charles, they come in there, the preacher come in there like, you using Jesus music for the devil and all that. And so, but that is what the world is supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. The world is supposed to be looking at us and saying, how can I take that? Mm-hmm. But we have got to the point where we're looking to the world saying, how can I take that? Right. This thing has been completely transformed, especially with the music. Now I'm on the fence with it. Like, I don't know. I can't draw the line. I don't know where the line is, but it needs to be a mind thing. It's God is not more about our action. It's more about our heart and our thinking. Are you putting this music together because you're saying, listen, I'm trying to make sure I reach people, or are you saying I'm trying to get my song played on the record station? So that's a matter of the heart that I can't judge. So I don't know where the line is. But we just got to make sure our heart is pure, everything that we do, that we're not just focusing on the world to be like the world. It's totally different when, if your mission is really to reach the world. It's like people would try to use Jesus, saying Jesus hung out with all these people, he hung out in all these places, and, so I could be here. It's like, but Jesus' sole reason for being at that bar was to save somebody. You was trying to get a drink. You wasn't in there witnessing to nobody. You ain't tell nobody nothing about Jesus. You put your money in the jukebox and play no gospel. You was in there dropping the thunder done. But now you want to use Jesus as an scapegoat. No, you can't do that. Jesus was really trying to do ministry everywhere he was. And sometimes we try to use that as an excuse. Deuteronomy chapter 7. We're going to be here for a little while. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. I'll read them, then we'll just go back for it. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites, and the Amorites and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. Verse 2 says, And when the Lord thy God shall deliver thee from before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. So he tells us not to make a covenant, or you don't come into agreement with them. Now, it's not that strenuous for us that, we ain't got to kill nobody. God ain't, we can't use the word saying, God said, kill everybody who don't believe. That's not what we're saying. We're not to kill people literally or kill things literally, but we are to kill people and things figuratively. We can't make any agreement with worldly concepts. We have to kill every worldly concept, every worldly ideology, every worldly system of thinking, because that's what begins to draw us. It's not the people so much nowadays, it's the whole worldly system. It's everything we see. We can't allow the media to draw us. And, marketing, they market how they're going to specifically draw you. Like, all right, this is how I can draw her and get her to want this. We can't have that mindset where the marketers can just put whatever they want out there and make you want it. They just play a song on TV like, I'm starting to like this song. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing. But I be like, if I didn't like it the first time, that means I should never like it. But they didn't make me like it. So we cannot come into agreement with worldly concepts. Spirit, like that is what we have to kill and destroy. Whatever your Hivites and your Amorites and your Kenites or whatever worldly image that is God, that the enemy is using to draw you, that's what you have to kill. Now, I was watching Preachers LA last night. I actually don't think the show is that bad. It's, these guys are humans. As a preacher, so I understand, you're going to be normal. That's how I feel about it. But Dietrich Haddon, he gets to a place where he's having marriage counseling from another married couple that had been married 31 years. And they, just come out and say, listen, are y'all shacking? And he gets an attitude about that, talking about shacking ain't in the Bible. It ain't in the Bible that I can't shack. Now, yes, he's back. And he got bait by it. But we're not judging him. We're not judging you, Dietrich, if you ever come across this. We ain't judging you. It's true that the Bible doesn't say anything about shacking, but once you agree with how the world does things, we all know what happens next. So it's not always about your actions. It's just about us agreeing or conforming to what the world does. So now the world, nowadays people ain't even thinking about marriage. People be having babies. You say something like, y'all get married? I ain't marrying them. But y'all had a baby together. So this is how the world thinks. I just heard a conversation earlier. Oh my God. A friend of mine, he got a girlfriend. His girlfriend wants another baby. He don't want another baby. So another one of our friends, she comes up, she's like, she asked him, when y'all gonna have a baby? And he was like, man, look, I got kids, she got kids, we don't need no more kids. So the girl, she was like, but y'all don't got one together. Y'all been together all the time, y'all have a baby. And that's the world we're thinking. It's people that have a baby, but every relationship that they have. So once we come into agreement with all these worldly concepts, that's what's going to lead us to something else. Now, while shacking might not be wrong in and of itself, but coming into agreement with that mindset is going to put you in a position where something wrong can happen. And that's why God's trying to get us to kill certain things and to stand out away from certain things. Not that one thing by itself is wrong, but that one thing can lead you to something that is wrong. So God wants us to stand out of the world, because if we don't stand out of the world, we'll stand with the world. And if you stand with the world, nobody's going to be able to tell who is who. So how are people going to get saved or know who to follow to get to God if we all look alike? How they going to know? It's not going to be nobody that's looking at somebody somebody's walk, that's looking at somebody's life, saying there's something about them that, just makes me want to be drawn to them, that I might be changed, that I might want to know their God, that I might want to know who it is that they serve. If we all look alike, so now we look like them, they look like us, and people just following whoever they follow because we're not standing out from the world. Anybody have any questions or comments? Help me out here. Verse 3. It's thorough, man. It's thorough. It's thorough. Ain't that thorough? Come on. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Don't merge or form a union with the world. It's one thing to have an agreement with, which we talked about in verse 3. It's a whole nother level when you're merging with the world. That means y'all are coming together. If you ever see companies, when they merge, sometimes when the companies merge, you can keep your name, but you got to carry their product. So Sprint and Nextel merge, but you can get some Sprint stuff from Nextel, and you can get some Nextel stuff from Sprint. So God is saying to us, we got to stand out from the world because he don't want people getting worldly stuff from us. So he's telling them, don't you merge with these people, because once y'all come to a place where y'all merging, you're going to be carrying some of their product. And I don't want nobody coming to the church getting worldly product. I don't want nobody coming to the church learning how to gossip. I don't want nobody coming to the church learning how to watch a leader cheat on their wife. I don't need somebody coming to the church learning all these different worldly things. You can't merge with the world, because when you merge with the world, you're going to carry everything that the world has. So when people come to you, to your life, you have all this worldly stuff to offer them. So God is telling them, and he's telling us, that we have to stand out from the world. We are to stand in it, but not be from it. We can't stand with it. We can't stand in agreement with it, and we definitely cannot merge. And he's telling you, don't marry, and then now y'all got kids. Now y'all got offspring of another generation that is now intertwined with the world. All right, change pages. Verse 4. Still, anybody want to talk to me? No questions about it?
I wanted to talk.
Go ahead.
I want to talk about how the church or Christians can't publicly be against homosexuality. It's like a problem. Like everyone who says anything about it, you have to come back and apologize. And I'm like, when did this happen where we can't take a stand for something that we believe? Like, how is it okay? How is it not okay for somebody to not agree with something? Like Chick-fil-A, I never really read too much into it, so I can't have a whole opinion on it. But I know that they were saying they didn't. Well, the owner was saying he didn't agree, and it's a Christian, right?
Yeah.
And it was a problem. But how? Like, how is that a problem? And I think churches are starting to just accept it now.
And that's what we cannot do. We have to continue to take stands for what's godly. Now we have to do it in a loving manner, and we gotta love people no matter what. But we can't stop saying, God says this is wrong.
Right. So people, what they always say is that, premarital sex is a sin, and doing this is a sin. And my whole thing is, yes, it's a sin, and I'm a sinner, and I sin. But I don't say that it's not a sin. This is where we becomes the problem.
That's how justify
You're now
it.
saying that it's not a sin.
That's where it goes from sin to iniquity. It's totally different when you sin. Sin is just missing the mark. I was trying, I messed up, I got back up, I might have messed up 20 more times. Iniquity is, listen, I don't even want to get right.
I'm going to wear a belt that says, this is gay pride.
Yeah,
I'm never going to say I'm having premarital sex with pride.
When we read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot is trying to tell his sons-in-laws about what's getting ready to happen. Like, we need to leave because this place is corrupt and God's going to destroy it. And his sons-in-law looked at him like he was crazy. Like, no, we cool with what's going on here. So they agreed with everything that was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah and ended up ultimately destroyed.
And a big reason that people are just looking the other way is because they think that the number one thing is getting people into the church, you know, and like instead of just like working, they're just like letting too much slide, letting it go.
I don't mind anybody coming in how they are. I'm cool. You come in with any kind of open sin or whatever. You here 6 months, we got to talk about this.
Right.
Bible study with me, like, you know, we gotta talk about this. You know, we gotta preach about way of life. We gotta preach about holiness. We gotta preach about how we are called to walk worthy of our calling and everything. You know, and that's, again, it always gotta be in love, but we do have to take a stand, because if we don't take a stand, then how is anybody ever going to be able to, you know, understand or feel like, you know, what I'm doing is wrong or I need to change? If we just accept everything the world sends us, then nobody is going to be like, what I got to change for? It's like the whole Universal Church of Christ, where they say you can do whatever you want, everybody go to heaven.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it's like we just do whatever we want. Everybody goes to heaven. I'm like, well,
Me
why
living
go to
like
church?
2 years
If
ago.
I knew I was just going to heaven, see, I ain't gonna lie, my integrity ain't all the way right. If I just knew there was no way for me to go to hell, if I knew ain't no way for me to go to hell, come on, man. I'm gonna be dead fast. I'm gonna be living fast, die young. From whatever to take.
I read this article, I watched this video about this couple in London who had a bed and breakfast. And their policy, the Christian couple, older couple at that, their policy is we will not give a double bed to any unmarried couple, period. Whether you're gay, period.
Wow.
So that's what their policy is. And when you come and you sign in or whatever, they ask like, okay, well, where's, you know, you here with your wife? And most men will be like, well, no, she's not my wife. And they're like, okay, well, we're not going to give you double occupancy. We don't believe in that. Wow. So they had a gay couple come, and they turned them away. And they never had a problem with anybody else, but as soon as they turned the gay couple away, they have lost their business. They're probably going to end up having to sell their home. It's a huge thing. They're going to have to pay 7,000, whatever pounds, converted is, but 7,000 pounds to the gay couple in a public apology. So they were on the news, and the lady's asking them, you know, well, what about your business? And she said, well, this is what God says, period. And they stood their ground for what God says. And they're like, you know, it doesn't matter what you say or what, you know, this world says. God says no. And they're like, okay, well, you're God. And she was like, yeah, God.
That's how you gotta take a stand. My great aunts are like that down south. You ain't coming up in there with a girlfriend or boyfriend. If you ain't married, y'all gotta sleep somewhere. Y'all gotta sleep separately. That's just,
that for you, right?
in the same house. Yeah. Well, my uncle's that man. He's mad about it. You need to find somewhere else to stay. Verse 4. No rant. I'm not trying to hear no comment with all none of that. No. I wasn't invited to no wedding. I didn't see y'all marry all these people in. Verse 4. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. So God said, listen, now I'm really breaking this down to y'all about why I really don't need y'all or want y'all intermingling. It's because I'm trying to save y'all. I'm trying to save y'all from what's going to happen if y'all end up being a part of the world, adapting the world stuff, then you're going to get some judgment placed on you. Now, a lot of times, you know, God's punishment is not always him specifically sending a punishment to you, but his punishment sometimes is him just lifting his hand off of you and allowing the enemy to just go ahead and start doing what he wants to do. Hey, y'all not real transparent. I'm be real transparent tonight. Don't none of y'all judge me. Talk about this before. What? That's the truth. That's what it is. You gotta be transparent. I used to struggle with sex and drinking hard, really bad, right? So took over my whole life. Hard, really bad. Took over my whole life. Listen up, come on, man. Y'all gonna get a lesson. This is gonna be a lesson out of this. So take over my whole life. So one day, I'm drinking. I'm out trying to get this girl. I'm at Big Banks. Boom. She playing around. All right, so I go, I'm like, all right, listen, I'm going to go get the car, I'll come back. So I go get the car, come back, I get pulled over. I don't even remember it. They told me this what happened. I wake up in jail, I got DUI. Oh, shoot, got DUI. Oh, man, all right, go to court. You know, they're like, all right, listen, you know, we're going to give you a program. Stay 6 months. 6 months without any trouble. You ain't going to lose your license. Nothing. All right, bet. Cool. 5 months later. 5 months later, drinking again. Now, I'm calling this girl. So she tell me, all right, come. So I'm like, all right, so I was real far, so I'm trying to get to where she at. So now, you know what happened? She fell asleep. Shoot, now, I keep calling, trying to wake her up. So I'm riding around, you know, because I'm trying to wake her up, you know. You pulled over again. Lock up again. Another DUI. I ain't gonna have to go. Jail, 3 days.
Yes.
Because I'm chasing liquor and sex. Then I end up in an accident. Drinking again. So then I still ain't give up. No, this is what I need. I need drinking and I need sex. This is what I need for my life. Boom. So I'm trying to get this girl again. Another girl. 4 different girls.
Girl. I've been saying one playing around every time.
Right. So this time, right? So I get pulled over again. Oh shoot! This time I'm gonna have to do 90 days in jail for this DUI. Oh man! Cops, let me go. God says, that's it for your grace. That's it. I showed you the ultimate grace tonight. I did not allow you to go to jail and do 90 days, but my hand is moving. And that's when I finally came to my senses and said, yeah, you know what?
Wake up and
I
really
really need that drinking and sex that much because I don't want to go to jail for 90 days, you know, over it. You know, and it's when God, you know, just begin to speak and just let me know, you know what, if you want to be in the world that bad, I will let the world have you.
Wow.
So this is what God's telling them. He's like, listen, don't marry, don't come into agreement, don't have no unions with them because I'm trying to save you from what's going to happen because it's not that I'm just going to make sure something bad happened to you, but you're going to move from under my grace. And that's what God spoke to me. He said, that's the end of your grace right there. If you don't stop, I'm just going to let the world have you. And that's what's going to happen to each and every one of us if we want to continue to just stay in the world. We don't want to leave the world. We just want to be a part of the world. God said, that's what you want, I will let you have it. And I will let it have you.
Can you talk about how you practice abstinence now? I mean, you gotta make it come full circle. Don't just
but I did say I gave it up, didn't I?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but I'm abstinent.
All right.
Well, I talk
Praise
about
the Lord.
it.
Praise the Lord.
Amen. To God. 90 days in jail. I said, no, give me 3 days because my life ain't the same. You know, back in the day, I was like 90 days ain't nothing. You get a little old. I was in there for 3 days. Like, oh, I don't know. Oh my God, what is it? 88 hours a day in here? If I turn the clock back, I've been here a month. I was in there a month for 3 days. 3 days.
A month for 3 days.
A 3 day month. I don't know what kind of leap year. I don't know what kind of what's that? Daylight saving time? I said, man. Verse 5. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. So now he shifts from dealing with the people to dealing with the signs of idol worship. And what God is saying to us is, I need you to remove everything that resembles their life. He told them, cut down all the groves, all the high places. I need you to get rid of everything that resembles that life. And with the world, we need to remove all the mindsets that the world has in place on us. Because the world begins to put mindsets on us that just messes us all up. Like, talk about this, you know, with the blog. You know, people don't want to feel like they don't want to get dressed for church. I'm cool with that. As long as you don't want to get dressed for nothing. The mindset of, well, I ain't got to get dressed for work, but or the church can't tell me what I can wear, but my job can. It's just a horrible mindset. So now, what kind of regard do you have for God? Right. Now, if you don't never get dressed for nothing nowhere, I ain't mad at you. This is just what you do. But if you go make sure you get dressed for that interview, then you need to make sure you get dressed for God. You should just have the same kind of regard. It's the same kind of mindset. Or people, you know, we have you know, this worldly mindset of investing. You know, we invest our money in our 401ks, or some of us might buy stocks because, you know, it will bring back a return, but then we don't want to sow a seed into the church. We don't want to sow a seed into the kingdom. People talking about, if I sow the seed, the pastor is going to have this. Do you know what kind of money these people have that run these 401ks? Nobody has more money than these people. These people are all billionaires that run all these hedge funds. So every time you put your little money in, they taking your money, they invest in your money, and they making more in 1 year than they're going to pay out to everybody ever. Some of these dudes are making $6 and $7 billion a year. They're not going to pay that out. So it's okay. It's okay for them for you to sow seeds and for them to be blessed, but you don't want to see the man of God get blessed. We got to get rid of that worldly thinking. That's just the world trying to keep us from sowing seeds. Paul talks about sowing seeds in Philippians. He says, listen, I'm not asking for it for me. I'm asking for it for you. Because if you sow into the kingdom, then God's going to pour back unto you. I'm not asking for this out of want, but that you might be blessed. Because this is it's just common sense. You sow, you reap. We can do it in the world, but we can't do it in the church. And that kind of mindset is what we have to get out. Verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all the people that are upon the face of the earth. Now he says, listen, I don't want you to be mixed in with the world because I chose you to show you off. I chose you to be different. I chose you to be standing out so people are looking at you differently. People aren't looking at you like the normal person, but they're looking at you in a higher regard because you are my child. Right now, it's a huge, or for a couple of years, for a while now, the whole sneakerhead fad is just crazy. People just going crazy over the Jordans, over the LeBrons, Kobe's, paying $200 for these sneakers, but everybody gets them. I would never buy them for the simple fact that everybody got them on, and I always wanted to look, stand out. So I would never spend $200 on a pair of Nikes, but in my day, I bought some $400 and $500 and $600 Gucci shoes. And the reason why I wore that is because I never saw a pair of Jordans make a girl double take. I never saw a girl like, oh my God, you got Jordans on. But I seen them do that with Gucci. So now, when I'm out at the club, and everybody got the Jordans on, the girl's looking at me, and I'm standing out. So now, not only am I'm standing out, but I'm set apart from everybody else. Everybody is looking at me different, and I'm being sought after. So God is saying, I don't want you to just blend in with the world because I'm trying to show you off. I don't want you looking like everybody else. I want to put you in a position where people are looking at you and seeing that you are set apart, seeing that you are different, and have people seeking after you, trying to figure out how you are or how you got what you got, how you got that peace, how you got blessed like that, how you got that hope, how you have that strength, how you have that power. I need you to be standing out from the world so I can show you off. I need you to be Gucci's and not Jordans. He says, I chose you to live above everybody on all the face of the earth. I place you above, but you keep trying to go hang with the common folk.
My God.
Princess Jasmine, why are you down there hanging with Aladdin? The king was mad.
Street rat.
The king was mad because she was down there hanging with a street rat. Right? But listen. Can I teach you what this movie? The king really did not have a problem with Aladdin. Because when Aladdin presented himself differently and came up to the palace, the king was cool. He had an issue with the princess leaving the palace and going down. And this is what God has an issue with us. God is saying to us, listen, you can be up in the heavenlies with me and share in all of this glory, but you want to go down there and blend in? You don't want to stand out? You don't want to have the glory shining on you? You just want to look like everybody else? You a king's kid, and you want to go down there in the slums and just look like everybody else. You should want to be living a kingdom lifestyle. You should be wanting to live like you're a king's kid and stand out like a king's kid. As soon as people see, they should know who you connected to. But we just want to blend in. I hate that this thing moves on me. So I was asking us, I'm asking y'all, do y'all want to blend in? Or do we want to stand out from the world? Do we want to be in the middle of the crowd and everybody's trying to figure out what's different? Now, I know we Christians, and they say we're supposed to be humble, and yes, we are supposed to be humble. But humble ain't got nothing to do with you getting the glory that you deserve from being a child of the King. The Bible tells us that we are joint heirs with Christ in Romans 8. And then it goes on to tell us that this present suffering shall not be worthy to be compared with the future what?
Glory.
Glory that's going to be revealed where?
In heaven.
In us. The glory that's going to be in us. The Bible tells us that we are now joint heirs with Christ, and we got some glory that should be on us. So there's nothing wrong with wanting the glory that you are deserved. You're a child of the King. God is saying, listen, I'm trying to show you off. I'm trying to put you in a place where people are looking at you and trying to figure out who I am because of the way you live, because of the way I'm showing off in your life, because of the way that I'm blessing you, because of the way that I'm just doing things miraculous in your life. You see, what was the last message talking about, or was I just watching this I was watching a video about, Bartimaeus. Once the people saw him healed, they began to praise God. And God said, I want to show off in your life. The disciples asked him, who sent him or his parents? Jesus said, no, God's just trying to get glory out of his life. He's trying to do something miraculous in this regular person's life so other people will be able to glorify him. And this is what God is trying to do with us, but he can't do that if we trying to blend in with the world. Princess Jasmine, get away. Invite a man to the house. Turn to Judges chapter 1. I don't know if y'all hot, but I'm hot up here. Now this goes into detail about some Judges, go right into Joshua. Chapter 1. Verse 21, 27, 29, I'm going to read them out. Judges chapter 1, verse 21. And the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jerusalem, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem unto this day. Verse 27. Neither did Manasseh drive out the inhabitants of Bethshan and her towns, nor Tanakh and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Dor and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Ibleam and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo and her towns, but the Canaanites would dwell in that land. Verse 29, neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites that dwell in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwell in Gezer among them. Neither did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Kitron, nor the inhabitants of Nahalal, but the Canaanites dwelt among them and became tributaries. Neither did Asher drive out the inhabitants of Echo, nor the inhabitants of Zidon, nor of Alab, nor of, I hate this Bible, how it's got everything broken down. It's trying to help you, but it's hurting me. I said, nor of Helba, nor of Aphik, nor of Rehab. But the Asherites dwelt among them. Verse 33, neither did Naphtali drive out the inhabitants of Bethshemesh, nor the inhabitants of Bethlehem, but they dwelt among the Canaanites. Nobody ended up removing everybody that they were supposed to. They ended up dwelling with. Turn to chapter 2. Chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. And the angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochum and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt and have brought you into the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. And ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have you done this? Why have y'all just chosen to just blend in? Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns on your sides, and their God shall be a snare unto you. And it came to pass, when the angel of the Lord spake these words unto all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. And they called the name of that place Bochum. Now, Bochum means a place of weeping. So now this place that was called the Promised Land, because y'all wanted to blend in, because y'all didn't want to remove all these worldly people, it's going from the place of promise to the place of weeping. And that's what's going to happen, and that's what will keep us from, what did I say, attaining, from us keeping the promise. Sometimes we can attain the promise, but we'll lose it because once we get there, we still want to connect to these people. I didn't just do that, did I? I know I do this from time to time. Okay, all right, verse 10. So this is after Joshua dies. And it says, and also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers, meaning all the older people, they died. And there arose another generation after them, which knew not the Lord, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and served Baalim. So now, because these adults decided that they didn't want to stand out from the world and remove all the worldly things, but they wanted to blend in and dwell with the world, the kids didn't even know God. This generation did not know God. How can the whole generation not know God? And this is where we find ourselves today, where the parents have just been so engulfed with the world. The guys just want to be Jeezy. The women just want to be Evelyn or whatever basketball wife or reality star you see. They want to be on the Bad Girls Club, and they just want to be whatever the world sells them to be, so the children don't know God. And that's why our world is so destroyed, because nobody wants God in anything. We're trying to remove God from everything. They even want to take ungodly trust off money. Who that's hurting? I don't even read it. I know it's there, but I don't. Who's reading it? Like, why do you even care? But it's time for us to stand out. And standing out doesn't mean that we have to live in a Christian community with nothing but believers, but that when we're standing in the crowd, we stand out. When we stand in the midst of the crowd, it's something different about us. They can see that light on us. And John, it talks about in the midst of darkness, the light has sprung up. We can be in the middle of it. We can be in the world, but we can't be of the world. We can't agree with the world. Like you're saying with the whole Chick-fil-A thing, or with whatever that woman was. I wish I had some money that I wanted to donate. My heart is so much bigger than my pocket. One day that's going to change.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it'll be the same size. My fake part. Right there. It's time for us to stand out. We got to take a stand for what we believe. We can no longer just be like, well, we're just going to do this. That's just how things are. No. We got to take a stand to stand out from this world, that the world might be able to see what it is that is supposed to be represented by God and by God's people. We ready to stand out?